I did used to be extremely anxious, extremely shy. As I said, you would not recognize me when I first started working on myself. Yeah? This is Julien. Welcome to my blog. One more take. I'll be updating it regularly with... This is Julien. Welcome to my blog. I'm here in Los Angeles right now on the rooftop of my... This is Julien. Welcome to my blog. Now, I am originally from Switzerland, and I moved from Switzerland to Los Angeles. Did I have a plan? No. I was going to university, and I decided, you know what, this is not for me. Now, originally, I moved there for music. I did music. I played guitar from the age of 8, composed from the age of 12. I have actually many hit songs that I've composed, and that I started finally recording this year as a hobby outside of my work. And they are bangers, so buckle up. Now, when I say this, people are like, oh, but you don't do music. And that's right, I don't. And I haven't played a lot of guitar for the past 10 years plus. But what am I doing now? It actually fulfills the same need as music. Meaning, what's this? It's the concert. The videos you see online, those are the recorded songs. The content hits on the composing and the creativity, so it fulfills me the same way. Now, what that also means for all of you in terms of purpose is whatever it is that you love doing, go beneath the surface. Say, what are the components that I love so much about that? And can I get creative and find those components in different areas? And play big. There's a movie I saw which actually gave me the final 1% of permission to quit university and move to Los Angeles. And that movie was Into the Wild. Anyone see that? Oh, beautiful, yeah. It's a book, true story. It's a sad ending. Hopefully my ending's not like that. But, right, it's like, don't eat the berries. But that movie was insane because it shattered from my limited perspective at the time social norms. Where ultimately it's someone who says, I'm going to give up on society and I'm going in the wild. And he let go of everything and just started hitchhiking and winging his way through life. Not to spoil it, berries and death were part of it. But it was insane because I'm like, I didn't know you could do that. I really didn't. Like, I do come from a very sheltered upbringing. Like, my mother is from America. She moved to Switzerland, met my dad, and that's where I was born and I grew up. So I spoke English with her, which is why I don't have an accent. French with my dad, French at school with friends, and then I learned German, but I have a French accent in German. I did not learn the word fuck until I was 12 years old. True story. I bought a Limp Bizkit album. It's a true story. And there's a song where they just say, fuck, 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 nonstop. And I'm like, Mom, listen to this song. I like it. And she's like, oh, turn that off. Where did you get that? And I was like, what's wrong? I literally had no idea. Then I learned it. Very sheltered. And most of my English is learned from movies and shows and Cartoon Network as a kid growing up. That's how sheltered it was. It was a small town of 650 people. That was a small town. It was farms around me. When I was 12, I went to work on a farm. I want to say 12. It might have been 14, but I want to say 12. And I went there for a week and a half, 2 weeks. Very life-changing experience. The second day there, I saw a cow getting fisted, arm's length. True story, by the way. That's how you impregnate them. Like, and they brought me over. So a guy comes over, the farmer's there, and he's like, Julien, you got to see this. And I had no idea. So I'm like, okay, I was just there shoveling the shit and moving the hay. And he's like, look at this. And the guy's like, puts on a glove like this. I went up there. And and I have no, like, again, I'm a kid. I'm like, huh? And he's like, literally, and he looks at me and he's like, she's in heat. And I'm like, so that was my experience of the world. I would then like walk the cows and he's like, you're at the back, and I had a stick and there's this herd of cows we have to herd down the road. There's a lot of crazy experiences, but I was, very sheltered, farm town. And out of the blue, I was like, you know what, I'm quitting university, going to Los Angeles. I had no plan, moved there. And I worked a bunch of dead-end jobs. But my view is this, and I still stand by that to this day, is I want to live life to the fullest. Meaning, the way I view it is you're here for a limited amount of time. I'm a big Doors fan, big Jim Morrison fan. One of the biggest books about the Doors and Jim Morrison is No One Here Gets Out Alive. Also a lyric. But it's true, meaning all of us die. You cannot take any of this with you. All the approval you get, you can't take it. You can't take your clothes with you. You can't take your body with you. It's for rent. All the money, all the success, the legacy, the reputation, you take nothing with you. Nothing. Guess what? Even if you're like, my kids, they die too. Everyone dies. None of us get out of here alive. It's a very scary realization, but it can also be a very freeing one, meaning if you accept that, you can live reality, you can live your life ultimately in accordance with reality. Meaning if I don't get out of here alive, let's go all out. Let's live it to the max. And at university, nothing that it led to was authentic to me. Does it mean the university is bad? Of course not. Does it mean that the jobs that university leads to are bad? Of course not. To each their own. But for me personally, I was more on the artistic, crazy side, and I wanted to go to the extreme. So I moved to LA. And I made a pact with myself, and this is something I suggest you all do, meaning, what is a successful life for you? What is it? And then be very clear and ask yourself, what are you willing to sacrifice for it? Because everything is an exchange. You must make sacrifices. People who experience FOMO are people who don't get that. Fear of missing out. They don't realize, like, you cannot experience it all. You cannot have it all. You have to pick. Now, that can be sad to someone who doesn't know who they are or what they want. Because if you don't know who you are and what you want to experience it all to discover what it is that you want. But if you're clear on it, no, you're like, okay, here's what I want. Let me design my life around that, and I'm okay with missing out on all of this. So, fortunately, that's something that I knew earlier on. And I made a pact saying, I'm going to go to LA, I'm going to go all out, music at first, and if it fails, it fails. If I end up homeless, I'll end up homeless. If I don't have enough money, then I'll be broke. If I never have enough money for kids, then I won't have kids. But I would rather die doing what I love than live doing something I fucking hate. And that was a pact I made. So I moved there, and was it fun and peachy? No. I went through a couple years of hell, working dead-end, minimum wage jobs. I worked at this place called the Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf, which is like a Starbucks. I was a barista. So at the time, like this is 2009, if you came to LA, I'd be there. I'm like, oh, what do you want to eat? Oh, coffee, here's a bagel and stuff. And I'd do all that. Now, it was fun, to be clear. And this is the thing. People look down on that. Now, I wouldn't want to stay in there, but at the time it was great. It was an adventure. I'm in this big city from a small town making coffees. I didn't make it mean anything about my identity or my status or my reputation. I'm like, this is a crazy, fun experience. Oh my God. And I'm meeting people that I would never encounter otherwise. And they taught me crazy life lessons. One of them even hosted me later on. I went through multiple jobs like this. I was homeless a couple times, and he let me crash at his place. Now, his place was not the nicest. You might have heard me talk about this, where he was renting with his fiance at the time the basement in this house. It was a very ghetto house. And again, he was working at the Coffee Bean. Okay, so he was broke too. And I stayed there, and they had a dog, and the dog had an eye infection where the eye was like kind of popping out. It was really gross. But they didn't have money to treat the dog. And they had a cockroach infestation in their place. But for someone to come and treat the cockroaches, you'd have to spray it down, and they'd have to vacate the place for 2 to 3 days because it's toxic, and then come back. And they didn't have enough money to do that. So they lived with this dog who was fucked. And the dog would shit everywhere in the basement, and there were cockroaches everywhere. And I would sleep on the couch, and every single morning I'd wake up, and there'd be 1, 2, if not 3 cockroaches on me, nonstop. So when you wake up and there's like a little tickle, you're like, oh, what's that? Big cockroach. The cockroaches would lay eggs in my computer at night, the USB ports, because it was warm, and little baby cockroaches would be coming out of my computer. I swear, yeah. That was my life. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that's what I went through. But again, at the time, the other thing is I was really sick at that time for 3 months. I had this crazy cough where if I lied down, I would cough like crazy to the point where I couldn't sleep. So my solution was stay awake to the point where you are so tired that as soon as you lie down, you pass out in 5 to 10 seconds. So I'd stay up all night to the point where my eyes are crying, and I would make Vampire Diary fan videos. It's a true story. I was really into the Vampire Diaries, and I make these fan videos on my computer, and I'd be like crying because I'm so tired. I'm like, ooh, and cockroaches would be coming out. I'm like posting it, passing out, and then there was dog shit in the corner. It was terrible. But I went through all that. Why? Because it was worth it. Why not? It's the adventure. And this is also where a question I would ask yourselves is, what kind of movie do you want your life to be? Now, for myself, I want the crazy adventure movie. For some other people, they might want the chill movie, the indie movie, the whatever it is, but ultimately pick your poison. What movie do you want? You can't have all the styles. You can only have one. Or you can change it throughout your life as you get older, but get clear on it. What do you want? What are you willing to sacrifice? And then go all out. Now, from there, I did even crazier things, right? Like I met someone who helped me out big time and taught me a lot back then. Again, this is 2009 or so. Owen, for any of you who are familiar with him, I did a few videos with him. Yeah, he was amazing. I'd see him around in Hollywood, and he's like, yeah, I'm looking for someone to help out on some of the coaching programs that I do. So I did an interview, and he's like, hey, everything seems great. I'd love to have you on board. The only thing is I need someone who has a car. Did I have a car? No. I had $200 to $300 in my bank account. That was it. Now, what did I answer? Yes. I'm like, any opportunity to get me in the door. So then I had a week or a few days to get a car. So I called around, I called even family members. I'm like, can you lend me the money? It's very important. It's a job opportunity. And my grandmother, fortunately, lent me the money. And I got a car off Craigslist, which turned out to be a lemon, meaning it was a shitty car that would die at every red light whenever I would stop it. And I got screwed over.
You can see it has like strange rust stains on the front. We can't even leave for the next 7 minutes because the fucking thing has to warm up.
There's like a metal bar.
Metal bar?
It's like a metal bar.
A random metal bar.
That's so cool, dude.
So I was now in the negative. I had this broken car, but it got me in the door. And that is ultimately the mindset I took all the time. It's what gets me in the door that opens up new opportunities. And along my journey, and it's really sad, but there's multiple people who never had that mindset, and the reality of them now is really sad. One of them is my friend who I started doing music with at 12 years old, right? Started doing music, we would compose. I wasn't big on singing, he was more of the singer, and very creative, and we complement each other very well. And I told him, hey, I'm going to LA, let's do this. We've been talking about it since we were 12 years old. We want to be in a band, we want to make it happen, let's go. Couldn't do it. Too scared. His father was against it, succumbed to it. And his life since then has been very tragic, where he has a pull towards the creative, and his father was like, no, you're going to go to law school. So he did university in law, hated it, failed. Shifted to history, and his father was like, you're going to study history, hated it, failed. He ultimately spent 10 years going to university, and he has no diploma, not even a bachelor, because he's just been bouncing around, undecided, just trying to please his dad. Didn't follow me to LA, so gave up on music. Then he had later on another friend who was into writing, and he really got into writing, and it was authentic to him, it was expressive. And his friend's like, hey, let's go to Paris and let's make it happen in French. Oh, no, my dad. His friend went to Paris and actually made it. So his life, and this is really sad, you might see the video. He saw me make it. His friend make it. And what's he doing now? Nothing. He wasted his life going to university for 10 years, nothing to show for it, and he's now working at his dad's restaurant. And he has nothing going for him. It's sad. It really is. And you know what's even sadder? I said before I started re-recording these songs that I composed. And I hit him up. I'm like, hey, you know how back in the day when we were broke, we'd say, hey, let's get a studio and do this properly and actually really record our songs. We can do it now. I have the gear, I know the people, we have the studio, I have the cash, let's do it. I'm too busy, I'm going through a lot. Oh, wow. And still won't do it. Oh, wow. It's sad. So, he's not part of it anymore.
His purpose is to work for his restaurant.
No, he hates that too. Yeah. Absolutely hates it.
That's what he's born to do, man. You know what I mean? his dad's will.
That's the saddest view ever. It's like his purpose is to submit to his father. What his father wants him to do. No, I've known him from a young age. He is not that type. He's creative and he has amazing ideas and things to share. But the fear of his father's disapproval, the fear of taking risks and betting on himself is too big. And it's sad. It's really, really sad.
Quite a common problem, that.
Oh, yeah, that's most people. And that's the thing. It's what I'm saying does sound crazy. If you take risks, you go all out, live life to the fullest, yeah, it'll be a little crazy. But at the same time, the bar is low. Because that friend I talk about, yeah, it could be a bit more of an extreme, but like you said, it's actually very common. That's the default. People are afraid to bet on themselves. They're afraid to take risks. They play it safe. They play ultimately not to lose. They don't play to win. They play defense, not to lose. They never stop and say, what is it that I want versus how do I avoid what I don't want? Now, to live life on your terms, you will have to pay your dues. Like I said, the cockroach times were fun now in hindsight, but they were crazy. They were sad. There's a time where I almost bounced back to Switzerland during that time. Like I was like, again, crying with the cockroaches. I'm like emailing my parents. I'm like, maybe I should go back to university. And then I stuck through it. Then fortunately things started picking up and I started traveling around. This is 2010. I started coaching, touring the world, really, which was insane for me. I'm like, oh my God, I'm in all these countries. Like every week I was in a new country doing multiple seminars, coaching events around the world. I had maybe 4 to 5 weeks off. Every other week was new country nonstop. And I went everywhere. So it got me to expand my horizons. I'd see all types of people. I started teaching people social skills, which gave me a certain authority at a young age. I was 21 at the time, born in '88. So I'd coach people who were like 30, 40, 50, 60 even, and they would listen to me because I actually had real life experience in that. So it got me to learn a lot about people, human psychology, and go from there. And things started going well. Now, the downside is that things started going well externally. But internally, did I feel happy and fulfilled? No. I learned all these ultimately temporary Band-Aid solutions to deeper problems, where the same me as a child who felt anxious and empty was still there. And it got actually worse because it's easier to feel unhappy when you're at the bottom, because you have the comfort of your excuses. Hey, I'm unhappy, it's because I don't have the money. If I had money, I'd be so much happier, everybody. Comforts you. Say you make the money and now you're still unhappy, that excuse is gone. You're like, wait, what's wrong with me? And I reached a point, this is 2014, I had just turned 26, early 20s, mid-20s, and I had everything my ego wanted. I had the nonstop travel, I had big crowds I'd speak in front of, I had more money than I could spend, I had the relationships, I had the friendships, I had everything, and I still felt terrible inside. And that's where your ego takes over and starts saying, more, and hijacks your mind. You start chasing crazier things. I'm like, you know what? I just need crazier reactions, more validation, crazier things, shocking people, having an impact on people, and everything got taken away. And that's when I went through this crazy scandal, lost everything, lost the reputation, lost the money. I was hundreds of thousands in debt. And ultimately, everything that I was trying to find myself in externally, taken away.
We have the man at the center of this controversy, Julien Blanc, with us here on New Day.
I see some comments from various people here about a fella called Julien Blanc.
Julien Blanc, that's his name.
Julien Blanc.
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 You all know who Julien Blanc
Yes.
is. Yes, you do.
And I was left with a choice. Meaning before that, I was trying to find myself in it. If it's taken away, it's either going to drag me down with it or I'm going to let go. And I was very lucky to not let go. I was very lucky to let go because it almost did drag me down all the way. And most people, it actually does. And that was my first glimpse of letting go, where I'm like, wait a minute. It's what I said before. It's not about adding, it's about removing. What I've been after has actually been in here all along. It's even what Eckhart Tolle talks about in the beginning of his book. It's like you're sitting on this chest of gold and you're looking out there, but you're on it. It's all there. So then that got me to introspect. It got me to finally confront my inner demons. And from that foundation, and then there was still good before. It was very egoic driven, but there was good. Combining the two is what led to this. But there are crazy ups and downs in life. And taking risks and betting on yourself. And it's insane that people don't. There's an acquaintance of mine who traveled with me for a little bit, did some video work, and he was always into music. So he kind of oscillate between video, music, but at a core it was always music. And he's an interesting guy, a little weird, but love the guy. How to put it, he got into a few years ago a very weird spot, and I thought he was joking at first, but it turned out to be real, where he's like, hey man, I'm actually doing pretty well financially now. I'm like, oh, what do you do? So I go to the casino. And I'm like, oh my God, he's getting into gambling addiction. He's like, yeah, but a friend does it. And I go to the casino, and I've been making a lot of money off, can you guess? Roulette. But I have a plan and a system. It's not just luck. I'm like, oh, what's your plan and system? Well, Julien, I found this energy healing coach who does crystal healing on Zoom. So he's not even in person with the crystals. It's on Zoom. It's $100 an hour, and I do these Zoom calls, and he gets luck on my side, and he tells me what numbers to bet on. And I literally thought he was trolling me at first. I'm like, huh, dead serious. And he's like, yeah, I went the other week, and I bet 25,000. And he would do big swings, 25, lose 35K and stuff, and go up and down. And he did that for over a year. And he's like, one point he was like over 100K, and then went down. Now he said he stopped because he lost it all. I was like, no shit. But then he's like, well, occasionally I'll still go. But it was the weirdest thing. I'm like, oh my God. It was so weird to the point where I'm like, that'd be the funniest thing to say. Like if someone asks you, like, you meet someone new, it's like, so what do you do for work? Roulette player, professional roulette player. And they're like, oh, but no, I have a system. I have an energy crystal healer on Zoom who tells me what numbers to bet on. Now, he went through that crazy period, and now he's back in touch with music. And he's actually crushing it with music. He's getting signed this week, and he's touring and doing really well. Again, I won't say the name publicly, but he's doing really well. And he was about to go on this American tour, which he in the end decided not to, and he's just touring Europe right now. And I'm like, why don't you go on the American tour? He's like, well, I'd have to spend $8K on that, and it wasn't guaranteed I'd get a return, and I didn't want to waste the $8,000. Okay, but think about it. This guy isn't willing to bet $8K on himself, but is willing to bet on roulette. Crystals. Exactly. But even zooming out, think of everyone, perhaps some of you, who've bet on these random stocks or cryptocurrency or cat coins and whatnot, and these crazy meme coins. People will throw thousands at that, yet they would never dare throw thousands at themselves. Meaning you still believe that in this random luck over yourself. And I called him out on that. I'm like, what are you doing? You're betting 25K on roulette. You're not going to bet 8K on yourself and your music and your own success? What? It was insane. And it was kind of a slap in the face he needed. So now he's doing it and it's going well. But I was like, that's insane. So for everyone of this, it's what's my version of that? And in the end, it's what's life that you want to live on your terms? And that's something I think about nonstop. I actually do a death meditation once a month. For real. Where I sing in the perspective that I died. What if you were to die right now? Do you have regrets? What comes up? Etc. And I mean, having, as you asked before, having children amplifies that too, because you see just how precious life is. As soon as you have kids, and you find out, like, I found out my wife's pregnant, I'm like, oh yes, because we wanted kids. It wasn't celebratory the whole time. It's at first you're all excited till that first doctor appointment, and then you find out about all the risks and everything that could go wrong. And you're like, oh my God, and you're praying every time, and every check-in, and every scan. A friend of mine too, he was, after my daughter was born, he and his girlfriend, she got pregnant. All happy. 3 months in, goes in for the check, no heartbeat, sorry. Dead. Just like that. And that's just in the early stage. Now that's fucked up and horrible. And I was like, even saying, I'm like, ugh. But even after they're born, there's all these risks. It's insane. And that's the thing. The fact that all of us are alive is a miracle. We should all technically be dead. It's insane that we're alive. Now that can be dark, where you can be all sad and cry about it, or don't take life for granted. Milk it. Every second, every minute. Like every speech I do, I treat it like it's my last. Not even for you, for me. Let that land. And by the way, purpose-wise, same thing. It should all be about you. I help you, not for you, for how it makes me feel. You get that, right?
Yes.
It's like the same with presents. People are like, I just want to get the present, get the present. As soon as you let go and you experience true self-love, you have everything you could get. So then what makes you feel good? Giving. But if helping you did not make me feel good, fuck all of you. I don't do it for you, I do it for me, selfishly. Helping you makes me feel so good that I love helping people. But make your purpose about you. And as you'll see, the more you let go, the more it's, what gift do I have to offer? What value do I have to offer? What is unique to me that I can give? And just like a present, it makes you feel good. It makes you feel good. And don't take it for granted. All of us are going to die. No one gets out of here alive. What does living life on your terms look like? And when is enough enough? And this will be the final story I'll share with you. This is after that scandal I went through. And if you look it up in the news, don't believe the news. I'm writing a book that shows the real stuff, and I hope it's 10 years ago. I hope you get, from all the content I put out publicly for 10 years consistently, a good idea of who I am and what I'm about. Yeah. But, to be clear, I was also a piece of shit before that. So I wasn't what it was written about me, but I was a piece of shit. I'm not proud of who I was. There's many things I changed, many things I regret, but I'm not what was written about me. But after that period, this is 2015, I went to this party in the Hollywood Hills at the mansion. It was a big party, and there was someone there who had a crystal ball and would read your palm and tell you about yourself, a fortune teller. Do I believe in that? Not really. I do think they're probably very good at cold reads, but it was free. It was at the party, so I'm just going to go in. And I go in. And it's this old lady, so everyone's waiting outside. So it's just me and the old lady. And she takes my hand and she's like, you've had enough. And I look at her, I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you've suffered enough. It's time to let go. It's enough. Now I knew, I was like, damn, that's a good read. But also I was like, she's right. Like it spoke directly to who I was and where I was. I'm like, I have suffered enough. Why am I hanging on to these? For me, it was the self-destructive pattern I talked about earlier. It's like, why am I hanging on to this? I've suffered enough. I've worn this out. It's time to let go and move on to the next chapter of my life. And that's the thing. For everyone, that moment, like fortunately, I had this weird fortune teller, which I don't even know was true, but I took it to heart and it helped tremendously. Like cement and add closure to that phase of my life. But for everyone, if you're waiting for that magical moment, it's not happening. That magical moment we think will wake us up is called rock bottom. So if you wait, like, okay, I'm going to wait till the point where it's like enough's enough, you're hoping for more pain. And it's what I said before, how much pain are you willing to experience till you wake up? Why wait till rock bottom? Wake up now. Right? The final analogy I'll share with you is if you think of Spider-Man, everyone knows Spider-Man? We're conditioned this way, where we think one day a radioactive spider is going to come and bite us. And we are Peter Parker, and when that spider bites us, we're going to turn into the superhero version of ourselves and live our life. Here's the reality. That spider is not coming to bite you. For real. Like people wait, the cockroaches will bite you out of the USB. Love that. But there is no spider. And people spend their lives waiting, spider, spider, and they even get desperate. They're like, look, any spider, I have low standards, just bite me. It's not coming.
Or Hogwarts says that.
But if you do want a spider to bite you, here's the big realization. It's not coming. If you want to be Spider-Man, grab your hand, give it a gentle nibble, bite yourself gently. Someone's like, huh? And now give yourself permission. That's it. Now you're Spider-Man. Go live your life. That's that magical moment you're waiting for. It's not coming. It's you decide. It's at some point, hopefully you snap out of the derp state and you're like, this is it. People are like, I'll wait till Monday, I'll wait till Friday. And they use all these excuses. That'll be the day, that'll be the day. It's never going to happen. People who make it are people who just reach that point where they decide. And that's part of, to conclude, living life on your terms. You decide. And it's in your hands. It could be now, it could be in 80 years, and you'll see so many videos with people with regrets on their deathbed. Take the warning sign. People with regrets on their deathbed is no different than that cigarette pack where you see like the lungs rotting and the teeth falling out. It's the warning sign. It's don't be like this. And what do? We see that and we're like, light one up. Take the warning. Don't be like them. What I always say is be, ideally on your deathbed, someone where if they come up to you like, do you have any regrets about your life? You're just like, fuck you all, I lived it on my terms. And you die. That's the way to live it.
Now, what you just watched here is just a small piece of a larger system and process. So what you want to do now is click this video here to see exactly what I'm talking about and how it all fits together.